Hi, welcome to episode 264 of your favorite daily podcast, A Couple of Things, a podcast about things. Today, I want to talk about categorization of people. Starting with, am I Gen Z? Am I millennial? Why doesn't anybody know? And why does it even matter? Let's go. So, I've been having conversations with people recently about Gen Z, millennial, blah, blah, blah. And it's very interesting to me that just a few years ago, not that long ago, I was considered a millennial. Like, to the point where I started this thing called the Nigerian Millennial Project, where we're supposed to like do some things about millennials. We're gonna, talk about highlight some millennials doing great things, Nigerian millennials, like a fun Instagram page thing. Think like Refinery 29 basically, but really centered around Nigerian millennials, blah blah. And so in my head, I was a millennial or whatever. And then tell me why in the past 2, 3, maybe 4 years, I'm supposedly Gen Z. Why and how? So I went and Googled, I did some research for this episode about the Gen Z age range, like what really is the Gen Z age range. And the first thing I saw was that Gen Z is classified from the mid to late 90s to the early 2010s, which is so vague. Most people put the start date as 1996/1997 and the end date as 2012 to 2014, which is also a very wide range. There is no consensus, basically, which obviously makes sense because, which is where I started with, like, does it even matter? Does it make sense? Why do we, okay, I know why we try to classify and put people in specific categories and create boundaries and specific labels around who they are, what they do, what they like, and blah 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 blah. I know why, right? But it's so stupid sometimes, because look at this now. Imagine if I was someone who really put stock into this thing, and then I will not be feeling like I have an identity crisis because people cannot decide whether I'm Gen Z or millennial. What does it even mean? What does it mean? I understand that people, like, our behavior is influenced by a lot of things, and the way we are, the things we like, the things we do, they're influenced by a lot of things, including the societal cohorts we belong to, so to say, because the kinds of technology that was available, all these kinds of things kind of influence our behavior and what we do, really. So I get it on that level. But it's so interesting to me when people then tie their whole self and thing to those things that are literally just vague boundaries that people have created to try to kind of make sense of certain things. Because why was I millennial some years ago and now recently I'm Gen Z? And some people say I'm not Gen Z, but according to the Australian Bureau of Statistics, I am Gen Z. So, like, depending on who you're asking, I'm Gen Z or millennial, whatever, it doesn't really matter to me. And then you got me thinking about the other categorizations that people do and use, which are also quite pointless. For example, the MBTI. Honestly, I don't get that. I feel like my general stance on this is, if there's any kind of tool, whatever you want to call it, that tries to neatly classify people into distinct boxes, is rubbish. It doesn't make any sense, because most people are on a spectrum of behavior, and depending on the context and situation in which they are in, some elements and dimensions will be higher than others. That's why when it comes to personality, for example, I really like the big five, the ocean personality thingamabob, because it doesn't say, oh, you are an introvert, or you are open to experiences, or you are neurotic, or whatever. Neuroticism, big five, is openness to experience, agreeableness, conscientious, Okay. Conscientiousness, openness to experiences, conscientiousness, extraversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. Oh shit, psychology degree in the working. But yeah, and then you are given like a score on the rating, like so basically it's a line, and you fall somewhere on the line for every single one of these things. It then doesn't mean that you are an extrovert or an introvert or whatever, or that you are open or not open or whatever, but it just means that this is the dominant, this is where you fall on that scale predominantly. But then in certain contexts you may behave in a different way. So yeah, absolutely hate MBTI as a thing, and I don't know why people keep using it. Okay, again, I know why people keep using it, but it has been proven over and over again to be an inaccurate, and basically it's basically like picking things from outside of your hat, like just put paper in your hat and pick it out. That's basically what it is. It doesn't mean anything. And so yeah, I'm very cautious around things where they are trying to, like create these clearly defined labels and boxes of who a person is based on a very random set of characteristics that makes absolutely no sense and doesn't hold up in the light. So yeah, that's basically what this episode is about. Like at the end of the day, these things don't necessarily, because my concern really is that people then start to change their behaviors to fit into this label versus just living and being whatever they are being and doing whatever they're doing. They were like, oh, I'm an ENTJ, so I don't do this, so I can't do that. Like, no, like, don't do that. I just feel like it's so strange. Or like, oh, I'm Gen Z, we don't do this. Like, please, your whole personality and your whole life cannot be a made up construct that people use to try to understand and classify people. Please, there's more to you and your life than that. So yeah, am I Gen Z? Am I millennial? I don't care. It doesn't matter. It doesn't really impact my life whether I am labeled Gen Z or millennial. Like, I can just do my thing, live my life, blah blah blah. Okay. All right, that's it for today. Thank you for listening. Bye. There's still over 100 episodes to go. I still need questions. I still need suggestions of who to talk to. I still need people who want to come on to talk about something to fill the form. So please do that. Thank you very much. And yeah, do like, share, subscribe if you found it interesting, insightful, and all the nice things. Bye.